All right, welcome to our second roundtable. We are back in 2013, looking at Texas A&M against Baylor. We've got a few special guests with us today from the 2013 team, all Aggies. We couldn't get the Baylor Bears to join us today, but hopefully they'll join us on another roundtable. So we're going to go around. Everyone's going to introduce themselves, starting with Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan May. Now Megan May Whitley, and I was a catcher for Texas A&M, and I played from 2010 through 2013.
Great. Thanks, Megan. Mel?
Hi, I'm Mel Jimazich. I pitched for Texas A&M during this game, and I graduated in 2013.
And you were just a pitcher, or you played other positions?
Pitcher, first base.
All right. Thanks, Mel. Cassie.
I'm Cassie Tysarchek. I played at A&M from 2011 to 2014, and I played outfield and a little bit of first base.
Great. Thank you, Callie.
Callie Lamphere, now Callie Whitmire. I played at A&M 2013 to 2016. I was an outfielder and a DH in this game.
Great. Thanks, Callie. And Jenna?
I'm Jenna Stark. I was playing second base in this game, and I played second and first my time there. And I played from 2011 to 2014.
Great. Thanks, Jenna. And last but not least, MJ.
Hello, MJ Fernbach here. I had the privilege of coaching at Texas A&M from 2006 to 2014, and currently at UNC Chapel Hill ever since.
Great. So we're just going to get into it and talk about this rivalry against Baylor. Who can best articulate your rivalry against Baylor, who's just, 90 miles down the road? Megan?
From my point of view, like as far as rivalries go, I know there's some pretty bitter ones that exist out in the sports world. But Baylor always just felt like a really pure rivalry to me. There wasn't a lot of bitterness here. A lot of these players played against each other for most of their travel ball careers and high school careers. So we all knew each other pretty well. And it was just a really good mutual respect. We always knew it was going to be a great game. It was going to be great competition. Nobody took anybody for granted. So it was always something that we looked forward to as a program.
Is there anybody that rivalry-wise that you guys kind of had that sour taste in the back of your mouth regarding a rivalry? Maybe somebody close as well down the road?
I'll step back on this one. Let somebody else take it.
Cassie?
Well, this is our first year in the SEC, was Megan and Mel's senior year. So I think we always really liked the rivalry that we had with Texas. I think we were pretty bummed that we didn't get to play them for several years. Being that first year in the SEC, I mean, we kind of were the odd man out, I guess you could say, because all these other schools have been in the SEC and they'd already had their rivals. And so we're like, okay, well, we need someone to fight. Who's it going to be? So we kind of self-proclaimed a little bit of LSU, a little bit of Alabama. It just kind of depends on the year and how that rivalry went. But our first SEC home series was against Alabama, and that was a huge one. I remember Mel and Megan both had a huge game this season, and we ended up walking off against them, which actually we didn't walk off against them, but Mel ended up with a strikeout and a fist pump. So yeah, we were it was kind of a toss-up this year. We weren't really sure where we stood, but we knew we wanted to beat everyone.
And MJ, as coach, what do you remember about entering into the SEC?
It was crazy. I mean, the first thing was they all had to have these crazy new stirrups with the stripes on them. That was a groundbreaking thing with all that. With you got to look good to play good. So, but it was we were in uncharted waters. We really didn't know, because you love to maintain rivalries, and we had some great ones right down the street, and then we weren't able to continue to do that. So it was just trying to find our way and find our niche and how we fit in, basically.
And these stirrups, was it sanctioned by the SEC, or you just?
I think it was just a new thing. It was just a new thing. It's when they all came out, and we were all. I mean, A&M was just very a traditional and very like, let's just keep it very simple. And so going to stripes on your stirrups was like, oh my gosh, I think this is going to be crazy, but it ended up being just fine.
And these stirrups, did you guys like these striped stirrups, or what? How was that transition? Because I know sometimes if you're not wearing a uniform that you necessarily like, it can affect the way that you play. Like, were you on board with these new stirrups?
We liked them. I don't think the coaches liked them very much. But after this game, I think we convinced them to get to wear them whenever we wanted.
Well, you can tell that they have them on at the beginning of the game. So whatever they needed to win, we were there for them. Yeah. And if it's socks or stirrups, then that's okay.
And jersey combinations, how many jersey combinations did you all have at this point? This is 2013, so it's not too long ago, but how many jersey combinations did you have?
No, we should know because seniors had to pick.
I think it's probably about 3.
Yeah,
I think we had three or 4 tops.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't have any black. They got them like the year or 2 after us. I was so jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say 3 or 4 tops and like maybe 3 pairs of pants.
So you had a white jersey, and then what is your actual color? Like a what is that color? Maroon. So you had white, maroon top.
Crimson.
Yeah, don't take crimson.
All right, so and we're heading off of Whitney Canyon. Talk to me about your game plan against Whitney going into this game. She was a junior, I think 5th year junior at this point, so she's been there a while. What was your game plan against Canyon? MJ?
For me, well, like I said, she just never would go away, it seems. She was around all the time, and she was so good. You're just waiting for her to graduate, but she kept coming back. And so we faced her a lot, so the majority of our team had, and you just have to try to be aggressive on her early, hard stuff, because if you get behind in the count on her, she makes you look really silly.
And I know that it was probably a very different mindset for righties versus lefties. Because she was one of the few lefties that we were facing. I think someone had made this point that there weren't a lot of power lefties pitching at this time. There was still kind of early in that world. And you had Ricketts, who's probably the one that's the most recognizable, and she made her money off of coming really hard and in on righties. Whitney doesn't so much do that. She more lives in the up and down with a good off speed. So for me as a righty, I was just keeping it down in the zone and then just picking a side, because she was going to bring one that you could hit if you just sit there. But I'm sure the lefty ideal is a little bit different. I'm sure she was very, very tough as a lefty. So I'll leave that to those guys.
And
I think
go on.
I think at the very beginning of this game, like the first pitch she throws me, I think it's going to hit me, because it was I don't know if it was a backdoor or she was trying to throw a screw that like didn't really move right, but like I flinched. I was like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like to see a lefty. So yeah, we didn't have the luxury of seeing the ball from that side of the plate as much when we moved to the SEC, but because like Megan said, you know, Kaylani Ricketts was right up the road, and we ended up facing her in their super regional just the next week. But you know, we didn't really see a whole lot of that in the SEC. I think the only left-handed pitchers that we really faced in the SEC that year were kind of like finesse, spinny pitchers that didn't really throw the ball hard or have a really good off speed that was really deceiving.
And eventually, I think, so you win this game. We won't, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. And then you face the eventual national champ, correct, in the supers? OU?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and had you faced them before earlier that season?
No.
I don't think so.
Not that year, but we had played them every year in the Big 12, so we knew them well, and we had seen Ricketts a lot. So it wasn't a shock that we were going to see them, but yeah, still a very tough series.
They were so stacked. They had Lauren Chamberlain, who could hit a home run with one knee. Needed to, like, she was like super injured. It didn't matter. Like Kaylani Ricketts, they were so stacked. They were a very good team.
Because they were the 1 seed and y'all were the 16th seed at this point. Did you think that you were going to get this 16th seed?
It was close.
I honestly don't remember. I know in 2012, like we knew what we were getting because we had been watching the RPI, but I think in this one we weren't entirely sure we were going to make the top 16. So it was, because it was borderline that year, wasn't it, guys? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, we were excited to be able to host because we weren't sure, but we also knew it was going to be, because we were that 16, it becomes one of the hardest regionals, you know, the way the numbers lay out.
We always got sent to Norman. So
3 out of my 4 years.
part of our story.
Norman.
Yeah.
Did you have a watch party to watch the selection show? Do you guys remember watching that and then learning that you were hosting? What was that like?
I mean, I think it's all, you know, we watch together and just like knowing that our fans are going to get to be there and our sugar daddies and all that. Like, we know that it gives us a huge advantage to be home. And we just love playing on our home field. But I think we were kind of mentally prepared for whatever, because we had some ups and downs that season through the SEC. So if we had gotten sent out, we'd gotten sent out, but we were definitely excited to get to stay home for at least the regional.
Yeah, so here's this Norman regional. So Oklahoma was playing Arkansas. And had Marist and Fordham as well. Do you remember thinking, were you even looking ahead at that Supers, or were you just trying to get through Baylor and get through one game at a time?
I think we were definitely focused on our regional because the year prior we didn't make it out of our regional. So definitely a focus in the moment. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
And Mel, so you were a senior this year as well, you and Megan. You had a few injuries, right? How was it coming out throwing against Baylor? Do you remember being in pain at all, or do you remember how you were feeling?
I was ready to go, tell you that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was in some pain, but I mean, senior year and hosting a regional, you got to perform. You got to go out there and do what you can. So.
And you had thrown only a couple of innings the night before, so you were pretty fresh.
Yes.
One of those was a 3-pitch inning, Mel. You remember that?
I know.
Like steak dinner right there.
And talk about this Baylor offense. What was Baylor's offense like?
Fast.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that a typical
Always
Baylor?
fast. Yes, Glenmore always put together a very good combination of speed and power. Like you were going to have to be on your toes as a defense, because at any point one of them could drag one on you or they could jack it over the fence. He was always very, very competitive when it came to that.
What was it like playing Coach Moore? What was it like being on the other side? Like, what would you describe him as?
The male version of Coach Evans, other than size. Like he's just as composed always. I don't think I've ever seen him get riled, and just he always seemed like a really nice guy. I don't know him super well, but he just always seemed really about his athletes, really kind-hearted.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I coach softball, travel softball, so I'm getting these kids recruited, and now I get to talk to the college coaches that I played against, and I'm like, I don't like you. Like, we're rivalries. Like, we don't like you. But yeah, it's pretty cool to, talk to the college coaches now off the field and try to get my kids recruited. So pretty cool.
What's happening on defense here? Are you guys in like a D2 where second covers second, or what's happened on that play? Jenna, what do you got?
I was watching y'all's faces, actually. I'm sorry. Did I go to the wrong spot?
You were just up the middle, I think, and then when they bunted, Nick crashed. So
I had to cover, and that was, she felt like I wasn't going to quite get there. I remember that. And so Yeah, we were playing up the middle because Mel's pretty good about rolling double plays. So I think we were hoping we were going to be able to kind of maybe get a double play and get out of there quickly. But I was just late to the bag.
And that's how Baylor was so difficult, because they had some of those players you didn't really know what they were going to do, if they were going to bunt or slap or do their, their soft stuff. So it causes some havoc for the defense for sure.
Yeah, percentages wise, it looked like you were up the middle anyway. So it was almost like that you were going to give that up. That's what I was asking, if you were in that type of defense, like, okay, we're going to go for this double play, like we're going to let them have that bunt.
Yeah, like they just put pressure on, they're really good about making things happen and just being in movement all the time. So yeah, that's just one of those, you kind of got to tip your hat to them. They situationally did a good job there.
On our drop ball, like, cool, thanks, that was easy.
Yeah, she's just such a natural athlete. Like, it was like she would try and go help the younger pitchers, like, learn a different pitch or something, and they were like, but how do you pitch? She's like, I don't know, you just do it like this, and she would do it, and then they'd go, I still don't get it, and then she'd go, I don't know, and like, because it just happened really naturally for her. She could just figure out a way to manipulate her body and manipulate the ball really well. It was crazy.
Oh, good strikeout now.
Nice.
Bases loaded.
Bases loaded. That's ice in the veins right there. Gotcha. See ya.
You had the dirtiest
Shout
group.
out to Megan for freaking calling our pitches, man.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, a lot of
up.
You made that job pretty easy, doing a pitch. Let me tell you.
that was a big
I've
thing,
had some that didn't.
right, Megan?
What? I'm sorry. What?
That was like a big thing. Like, Coach Evans still liked the idea of you calling it because you were behind the plate. You could see the batter, and you understand you were such a student of the game. And like, so many coaches had taken over calling pitches at that point.
Yeah, I was super grateful to Coach to put that faith in me, because like you said, it was kind of at that point, like, really, I think there were only 3 catchers even in all the major conferences that were still calling. So for her to do that was really awesome and putting a lot of faith in us. But one thing about Mel is I don't think she could have handled waiting for a signal from the dugout. I don't know if you've noticed, but she is one of the fastest working pitchers still that I've ever seen in my career. And I think that Coach giving us that ability to call our own game really helped her keep that rhythm that she needed, because when she's moving fast, like, you're in trouble, because she just gets in that mindset and just blows it right past you. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like to work fast. Didn't we have a game? I think it was against Missouri. It was 1-0, and the game was like an hour and 5 minutes.
Hour and 9 minutes.
Hour and 9 minutes.
Hour and 9 minutes.
That was the best.
Because you and Thomas both work about the same speed.
Yeah.
And y'all were, it was 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. And I don't remember how we got the 1 run, but I'm just glad we had it, not them, because the game was over. There was no chance to get another one.
And this was for pre-armbands.
Right.
For us. Yeah.
We're, I think, late in the game for that.
I'm wearing one, but that just Reese was our pitching coach that year, and she's just giving scouting reports on each of those hitters, what they had done in their past at bats, stuff like that. So I don't think anybody else had one.
So on your wristband it had the scouting report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it would be anything that we knew, like a particular pitch that hitter was good with or bad with, and then she would just give me a reminder of what they had done in previous at-bats, which I have to tell you in this game came in super handy because I was actually really sick this weekend, so everything was very foggy at that time. So Ree came in very clutch, helping me out with that. She had to remind me of something like 6 times, I'm pretty sure.
I missed that part of the game, not having all the signal bands and just watching the players play. I mean, I love watching that with UCLA and Arizona and Mike Candrea doing his signals and all that kind of stuff instead of just calling out numbers. It just makes the game more fun.
I know Coach Evans, when she's in the third base box, she doesn't use the armband. She still does like the old fashioned, like this, which is awesome.
Yeah.
sure her bunt signal hasn't changed in like 15 years.
Y'all, I have a story. So I coached at U of H, University of Houston, for 2 years. And we played A&M every year. And I picked a signal because I was like, okay, I'm guessing what the opening is. And so I leaned one of the assistant coaches next to me, and I was like, I wonder if Coach Evans has changed her signs. And the assistant coach next to me was like, I don't know, like, what do you think she's about to do? And I was like, I think that this kid's about to steal. And so, like, I didn't know if I was right, so I didn't want to, like, mess up our players that were on defense, but the kid stole, and I was like, okay, like, I need to just keep this to myself because I have loyalties. I want my team to win because I'm on the other side of the line, but, like, that's so cool to me that she has the same cadence. Now the opener was different. She has like an open and close, but I don't know. It was just super cool.
I love the loyalty, Cassie. That's huge.
I couldn't. I was like, okay, I know it, but and then of course, like I'm gonna tell her after the game, like, hey, like, I know you know, just make sure that you're not putting that up to any of your other alumni that have come out of the program and can pick signals if it really matters. So anyway,
So
it ended up not mattering. But
are you gonna tell us what the steal sign is?
Absolutely not. I didn't even want to share that when the team that I was coaching was on the field. So I guess I just have loyalties. That's all.
Power numbers, their slugging percentage.
Cassie, I have to say, even now to this day, I don't know very many people that knew the strike zone better than you did. Like, even through pro ball, all of that, like, you knew the zone better than anybody I've played with or against, like, ever. It's just so impressive. I love watching you in the box. It's crazy.
That's why I always wanted to fight you at practice when you were like, that's a strike. I'm like, are you sure? I'm just kidding.
I had to get what I could. I had to get what I could. I wasn't going to throw it down the middle for you. Come on.
What I'll say about it was really hard to face Canyon because in the SEC this year, there weren't a lot of left-handed pitchers. And so, seeing the ball come from the other side was like, it's a really big difference. And, righties are like, well, we see right-handed pitchers, all the time. So we're used to the ball coming that way. But, it was a commodity, I guess, that year for us. So I always had a really hard time with Canyon because she always came inside and she was throwing upper 60s and, it was difficult. It was difficult to make adjustments as a left-handed hitter versus a left-handed pitcher when you don't see that angle very often.
And Canyon
got a walk out of it, so that's great.
I was gonna say, you guys walk a lot in this game. Was she throwing was that a game plan to be patient against her and hit the strikes, or what was that kind of game plan?
The thing about Canyon is that she has two that are like strike pitches, the rest are chase pitches. So if you're patient enough to sit those pitches that she has to bring in the zone, even though one of them is like a disgusting changeup that I'm pretty sure I look really stupid on in my first at bat here. You have to be smart and sit that screwball or that drop that she tends to leave higher in the zone. Everything else, if you're smart, you'll get the walk if you don't chase.
Mel, do you remember this at bat?
Nope. Nope. I hope I don't strike out. Well, maybe.
It's okay, I did. So,
Yikes. I don't remember that at all.
Kathy, you get like jump on that or what?
No, that catcher has a cannon.
I think she left early even.
Because Cassie's fast. Like you had great jumps when you stole.
I left early.
I know.
I totally did. Fernie, you're right.
Wait till you get caught, Cassie. No. Yeah, that was just a perfect throw.
She had a missile. That was awesome. Not awesome because you were out. Just as a catcher, I have to appreciate it was a really good throw.
Hey, that was the same steal sign, I'm sure. I got it. That's what I saw.
Look at that. That's like you made the tag.
Oh.
Dang.
Yeah, that's a cannon.
Yeah.
That's Claire Hosak behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, there's 60 feet between the bases.
Good job, Mel.
I'll take a walk.
A lot quicker. And
It's okay. I'm about to rule it useless right here. So.
We know this game does get interesting till what, the 5th inning? Is that what we?
6th
inning? Okay.
So talk to me, like who are the jokesters on the team?
Yeah. Nick.
Yeah, she was the one that like just kept it lighthearted no matter what. Like I don't think she had the capacity to be stressed, you know? Like it's not possible. Like we'd be down by whatever amount of runs, she'd be like, well, this isn't good. Like, you know, she just was so calm and collected all the time. But I think that's like what made this team super unique was we were so balanced. Like it was really talented athletes. Like you look at this lineup and it's like crazy for me to watch it because I wouldn't have wanted to like have to pitch to this lineup, but it was just well-rounded. Like you had good leadership on the field, good hardworking people at practice, people who were bought into the program. Like it was a really cohesive year as far as like the way the team dynamic was. You had your jokesters, you had your, it was pretty special.
I have to second that, Jenna, because I didn't understand even then how awesome this group of people were. Like until I got out and I saw what else was out there outside of A&M, and not even just outside of A&M, because this was a special team, even in those 4 years that me and Mel were there. And you guys were pretty awesome. And I wish I could go back and do it again because there are definitely some things I'd do differently for you guys.
Nobody wants it more than Mel. I mean, nobody's more competitive than
And Coach Evans is talking about Mel right now. The Doominator. Was that a nickname that somebody gave you or what?
Where did that even come from?
Someone said it on it was preseason and they said it as you were like striking people out on one of our games that had been recorded. They were like, there's the Doominator. And then it might have been Smith. She likes to give nicknames.
Didn't she create the crop duster for rickets? Isn't that what she said on national television?
Not all human. That's not our nickname for her.
Shelton puts it on the ground. Nicole Morgan quickly puts it over to Stark.
It was tough to get her out. She was a tough one.
Yeah,
Shelton.
Her and Holly Hall, man, they gave me fit.
Yeah, they were tough.
Yesterday, because she only pitched 2 innings, but impressive numbers. All
Those are some impressive numbers.
Discussed this yesterday. Not just pitching. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, it definitely.
And that was with you missing a bunch of games, right, Mel?
Yeah.
On the mound?
I shouldn't have.
No, hey. No regretting stuff now. It's just too long. We're too far out of this.
Did you tear your rotator cuff?
So at the time they said I had a strained rotator cuff, but I ended up tearing my labrum.
She's not. When she's in the circle like that, she is game on. She's leading her team, and she's
A lot of torn labrums. I tore my labrum as well.
Holly Hall with the single, and now a pinch runner out there.
Yeah.
Baylor is Justine Young, number 8.
So we're in the top of 3 here. What is everybody feeling like during this part of the game? Top of 3, no.
I'm feeling like we have to hit. Like Mel's pitching a gem here, man. This is postseason, and we're leading probably in home runs. Like we got to get something going here.
Nice double play there.
It was a great turn, Jenna.
Thank you.
Dumazic getting it done. Tyler to Stark. Stark to Morgan. A&M out of the inning.
That drop ball, Mel. I missed that pitch.
Thank you,
Yeah, I think like kind of how we talked about earlier with like knowing this was going to be such a good game, it almost felt like whoever kind of broke out first was just going to kind of take the momentum. So I think like, I mean, it was bases loaded earlier on, like the fact that we got out of that and then the fact that we kept getting out of it, it just felt like exactly like what Callie said, like we just gotta get some people on and have like one good timely hit, that it wasn't going to take much because both pitchers were so good, you know? So we felt like we just had to get a runner on, walk, whatever it may be, and then get a good timely hit. We could kind of get something going.
I think the cool part about us playing at home is we got to like be a little bit cocky. So, you know, we kind of had that to our advantage. I don't remember what year it was, but there was a year that we had this crazy winning streak at home, and we actually carried it into the next season. But we were just really comfortable at home. You know, I feel like we kind of thought anybody could come in and occupy the other dugout, and we were like, okay, we're gonna figure out a way to win. We don't care who it is.
And our fans are amazing, especially the sugar daddies. Oh man, they get into it, and oh my gosh, it's so hard not to laugh when you're out there.
They would stand up to your walk-up song, Mel.
Yeah. Explain sugar daddies to me.
I think Megan, you should take this one.
You know what diamond darlings are for baseball? Like there's one girl for each player. Well, we have that for softball. And so every player had one guy that would sit in the stands and would wear your shirt with your name. And they're just professional hecklers, like the absolute best. Because, I mean, they keep it clean, but no one is safe. Like they picked on me. They picked on everybody. Like, ruthless in the best way. And honestly, I'd have to say that's probably the biggest difference from this stadium to Davis Diamond. I'm going to claim our one thing since we didn't get that stadium is that the Sugar Daddies are a little further away, so it's not so intimate. They're not right there in the action behind you. And it was so great having them there because they'd get under people's skin. Oh, it was kind of fun to watch.
Now, is there like a interview process to become a sugar daddy? Like, how do you become a sugar daddy?
We had to find our own, didn't we? Like everybody had to go find their own guy.
There's no limit too. Like the more the merrier. The more sugar daddies are, the more noise. I think now they sit on the opposing teams above their dugout. It's not bad.
So there could be 20 of them heckling at the same time. And did it
usually
every game?
Every game.
They're known for like I remember this so much, obviously when Mel and Megan were the battery, but anytime that the opposing hitter has 2 strikes, they go shirt, because they're wanting the strikeout, and then they get a strikeout t-shirt thrown from the press box. So if you can probably hear it somewhere on this video when Mel and Megan have 2 strikes on a hitter. So
look, so
they sit right behind home plate. It's like directly behind home plate. It's like the first 2 or 3 rows. Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome.
They named a bunch of Mel's pitches. Do you remember that, Mel? Like you had the Whiting Wiggler and the. I'm trying to remember. Oh man, they had a bunch of really funny names for when you'd get strikeouts.
The Baylor corners. Very well executed bunt.
That's the one question I get asked, knowing that I coached at A&M, is like, those sugar daddies, what the heck? How do you get those guys to do that? And you know, that's one thing that they remember about it, and the fans, and just how hard it is to play at A&M. It's definitely a home field advantage.
That's a close play.
I think you were safe, but that was a nice play.
I don't know. We need a replay on that one.
They don't give you a good angle.
We're the fastest leadoff hitter in the country, though. I believe that year.
Oh, easily.
Clearly, right?
The first time Coach Evans said I was off, I like gave her a face, and then she was like, "Don't look at me like that." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to go. Whatever you need."
Talking about Coach Evans, let's hear some Coach Evans stories. Who's got a good story?
You can't get better than that. So I think she's gonna be just
sure.
Coach Evans, Michelle Canyon, 3 strikeouts, First time through the order
Silence.
against
Mel, tell the story when you got put into pitch when you were young.
against the lefty. I want
Oh.
to
You mean the talk that changed my life forever?
Good story.
Hear it.
I still tell that story to my girls. So I coach travel softball and I run an organization, and I still tell that story to my kids. that seriously changed me forever, and I love it. But so we were I was a freshman, and I really wasn't like, I was a pitcher, but I wasn't like one of the main ones, you know. I more played second base. And we were in Arizona for a tournament. It was our first tournament. It was at the Kajikawa Classic at Arizona State. And while we were there, we were playing Arizona State. And that was the first time that we had played them since Gibb and Amanda played them in the national championship. So I was playing second base. Coach had me warm up, you know, just in case, whatever. And Becca Urbino started the game, and I think it was a close game. I think we were down maybe like 2-1 or something like that. Well, Amanda Scarborough was our pitching coach. And she's like, "You warm?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," you know. And I'm like, and so Coach Evans puts me in the game. She puts me in the game. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, why is she putting me in the game? Like, we could potentially win this game. Why is she doing this? You know? And I freaked out. And in between innings, I told Amanda, I said, what is she doing? Why'd she put me in? I'm like, I don't want to pitch, you know? And so I was in a jam or something like that. They scored some runs, and Coach Evans called timeout, and she goes, "You want to pitch?" I was like, "No, take me out." I was like, "Please take me out." And so after that tournament, before we even got on the bus to go to the airport, Coach Evans let me freaking have it, you know, and she was just like, "Look at, like, I brought you here for a reason. You better freaking show up and all this and just let me have it." And ever since that talk, I mean, she'll tell you too, like, I just changed, you know. I was like, let's go. So I like telling the story because, you know.
What do you think she said to you that kind of flipped that switch in your mind going, I mean, you were a freshman, correct?
Right. I was a freshman. I think it was more so that, you know, she believed in me, you know, and she put me in for a reason because she thought I could do it. Obviously, I didn't think I could do it, but yeah, that definitely changed me.
Believed in you. She believed in you, and
right.
That completely changed how your mentality was as a pitcher.
Right. Yeah, and then thankfully it was the very first tournament my freshman year, and ever since then, you know, it's changed, and it's changed for the better for sure. So it was kind of like, you know what, I'll go to war with Coach Evans anytime, you know. So.
And Megan, how do you remember that? Were you catching her at this point?
I was. I do remember her being nervous.
Yeah, I was terrified.
Stressed out. The thing about Mel, if I had to pick one complaint about Mel from any of the 4 years, was that she really I could never get her to remember how good she actually was. Like, I had to argue with her that her pitches, "No, Mel, that's actually a really good pitch. You should really throw that." And she jokes, like, I could yell at her with my signals. Like, if I told her and she'd shake me and I'd be like, "No, like, you're throwing this." She's like, "Okay." But that was kind of that moment. I think Coach Evans had to convince her exactly that same thing. You're this good, and you need to believe you're this good. And she never looked back, because I think by the end of freshman year, you were rolling, like, on the mound. I remember that LSU game, Mel, like, still to this day. Oh, that was awesome. And I think that was when you really came into your own and started really trusting that was your position, even though you could have been an All-American shortstop or second baseman, because you're just that ridiculous as an athlete.
Remember when we played Arizona State at Super Regionals there again? Yes. I think it was our sophomore year.
Yeah, it was our freshman year, so it was y'all sophomore year.
That was crazy.
That was an intense series for sure. I have a Coach Evans story, but it's much more funny than Mel's. Mel's is very awesome and serious. We were playing Texas at Texas my freshman year. And I'm not known for my speed, you could say. And I was on second base, and I forget who hit a ground ball into right field. And Taylor Hoagland was playing right field for Texas at this point in time, who went on to play for Team USA at Pan American Games. Like, she's pretty much a beast. And Coach, I don't know if she forgot that I was on second, but she sent me home. And I remember her looking up from doing this and went, "Oh," I'm going to say, "Oh no," but that's not what the word that happens. And I was like, okay. I even was like, seriously? Like, I said it while I was drowning the bag. And yeah, it didn't end well, but like, she came to the field. All we could do was laugh at that point. She's like, yeah, okay, we won't be doing that again. It's like, yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. But
So
Coach Evans is awesome.
What was that pitch that she hit out? Do you know, Mel?
I think it was a drop. Was it the drop? Screw?
I think it was a screw.
That was why I said my apologies on the pitch call, because the pitch before that was also a screwball.
Yeah, oh well.
Oh well.
And you guys,
It should have been a drop ball.
Hindsight is 20/20, Megan. Don't ever do that. Hindsight. Just go with your gut.
then you guys worked as a battery calling pitches together, right? The two of you had your game plan. It was just the two of you calling the pitches.
Yes, ma'am.
I like that.
Yeah, there were times like when Mel wanted to throw a pitch, like if I called something, she'd shake me, but she'd already be starting her windup, like before I had ever actually given a second option. So I'm like, all right, I'm ready for you. Let's throw it.
Did you know what she was going to throw?
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah. We had a rule where if I got to the correct side of the plate, just go. Like, I'll adjust to you, but don't cross me over. That was our only rule.
MJ, and what was it like coaching this battery as well, like watching them work as a team?
I mean, I'll tell you, it's so much more comforting to know that you have such a strong battery and offensively, because you can rely, it just takes a lot of pressure off the offense. And it's just fun. It was just so fun to be a part of this group. And they were competitive, they were fun, they were lighthearted, but yet, man, they'd get after it. So whenever Mel was on the mound and, Megan behind the plate, we knew we had a chance to win. And that's all. You just want a chance to win. Even if we're down by 4, that's the fun part of this game, is they all believe, it doesn't matter. It's the 4th inning. We still have a chance to win this thing.
And you guys as a coaching staff were a big part of that, Fernie, because all of you were so even-keeled, like especially Coach Evans. Y'all never got really up or really down, like no matter what the situation was. And we definitely fed off of that energy to just keep us really calm, cool, and collected all the way through the game.
That's quite because I wasn't always calm, cool, and collected before I got there. And I learned from her and learned a lot, and you get a lot more out of that than you do if you're like crazy coach in the box. So you just let the game play, and the student athletes get the most out of that. And Coach Evans she never got riled up about anything. I mean, she was competitive, and you could tell she'll get in your face about some stuff, but man, she was so steady.
And she knew the players like so good, like she knew not to treat like everyone the same, like some people want to be coddled a little bit, like me, like she had to get in me, and she freaking came at me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's what I needed though, I didn't need her to come up and say, it's okay, Mel, it's okay.
Yeah. I think that's the key. You got to know your players, and that's one thing she was so good at. Yes. She knew the players. She got in your face because she knew that was going to get the most out of you. And, you know, we don't always get it right. Coaches don't always get it right. You try it, you go with your gut, but she was so confident and trusted what her knowledge was of her team. And that's what was the fun part of being at A&M for 8 years.
Leads off, and she got hit by the pitch.
Look at that. Sometimes you're like, just hit me with the ball.
Yeah,
Allie, you got hit so much that year. Like, you were either hitting a home run or getting hit. Like,
And okay, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure this was my game plan a lot, but especially this game, was to crowd the plate because the rise ball was not my pitch. I couldn't hit it generally, and so I was like, I can either get hit by this pitch and see that it's coming at me and not swing at it, and that was a win.
Good thing that game was, this game wasn't in 2019 because you probably would have been called for being out of the box.
Yeah, I was just
that was the call for the year, like everybody. So we're thankful that was not the case.
Look how strong Nick was. She like barely swung at that, and it like oppo almost over the fence.
Yeah.
Cassie, tell them about how Nick, like, because they say in this game that coach said she's the most athletic player on the team, which I, looking back, definitely have to agree with. But not a lot of people know Nicole she could have played Division I basketball, like insanely athletic. I don't think there was anything she could do on any kind of ball field or sports arena that she was bad at ever. Hacky sack, basketball, football, softball, rugby. Didn't she play rugby after she finished?
She did. She played rugby at A&M on the intramural team. She did. And she was also, she would just like go, she would be catching you, Mel, in the bullpen. Like, you know, we'd like split up at practice and she'd catch you in the bullpen. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but she would like throw curveballs and stuff. You know, like she used to pitch. She used to do a lot of different things. And, you know, we actually played intramural basketball one year at A&M, like during the summer. Like we were like, okay, we're here on campus. We're going to figure out a way to stay fit. And we like played co-ed basketball with boys. So she would play shortstop. If Coach Evans was like, Nick, you're playing shortstop today, she'd be like, I've been waiting for this moment. Like seriously, she would do just about anything you ever asked her to.
And how long did y'all play together, Cass, before you came to A&M?
Well, actually, she's known Megan longer than Nick knew Megan longer than she knew me. We all play on the same travel ball team from, your last 2 years in travel ball, Megan, probably.
Yeah, so it would have been 08 and 09 was when we started, and then you guys would have had another year, so 3 years on Impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been 09 and I don't remember. So it was right in that region.
Yeah, 08 and 09 probably, but yeah, she's and ever since I've known her, she's been that height. And I met her when I was probably like 14 or 15. She's been that tall. So she was a heck of an athlete. I mean, I think she was a 3-sport athlete in high school. And yeah, she could do just about anything. She could dance. Like we said, she was the jokester. She was always dancing. We could be down 8 runs and she was out trying to make sure that everybody was having a good time. So.
Coach Evans says she's not concerned about the kid who's not back
because Coach was like super big on trying to get the best kids out of Texas. Like she just wanted the best kids in the state of Texas to come play for her because they kind of already had that passion for A&M usually or understood the culture. So pretty much everybody like played against each other or with each other. Like there was, I was a transplant. I was a transplant in from California. But other than that, like I showed up, I'm like, are all of you guys from Texas? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, hey, I'm Jenna. But it was like cool because they all have this like really long history and they know each other and they knew what they were coming into, and it was a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
And what club teams did you all play for?
Shutouts yesterday. And a reminder, in Arizona will play approximately 3:30.
Megan and I played for Impact Gold.
Impact Gold. Yeah, Impact Gold with Nicole and Cassie, right? Cassie, no, you were, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up on Impact Gold, and then we also, I mean, we played with Brittany Clapton, who was, I think, in left field this game. We played with Taryn Tyler, who was at short. Were there any? Emily Albus in center field. She was on Impact too. So there were a lot of us from the same travel ball team.
Yeah, well, Texas, the state is so big. It's crazy, and you have so many good quality schools there that I don't know if this has changed, but when I was there, we never really competed with like Texas usually or Baylor for student athletes because all three schools are so completely different as far as what they're based on, where it's located, all that. So if you were an Aggie, you're going to go to A&M. You know, it wasn't like, well, I don't know, maybe the Longhorns. It was never, it was like against their religion to do that. They couldn't do it.
Mel, didn't you have a kid that played for you for Hot Shots, and she is from College Station and ended up committing to, I think first Texas and then now U of H?
U of H, yeah.
Haley.
Oh yeah, Hudson.
Yeah.
Her dad was our sport management professor at A&M. Did y'all have him?
Yep.
Yeah.
What type of a change is she throwing? Is it like a back door? What is she throwing?
Good one. A good change.
It's a slip change. It's actually very similar to something Kat kind of throws. Like that's why you can't see it. It's just it's deeper in her hand and then just slides right out. And it's disgusting. Like there's only a couple of pitchers I've caught that make me flinch on their change, even whenever I'm calling the pitch, and Canyon got me a couple of times. Like I had to catch her briefly there in 2011, and she's just so aggressive with her body the entire way through. Like if you forget what you called, yeah, you're gonna get it in the face for sure.
She's got kind of like that upward jerk at the end, so it makes it seem like it's gonna, come a lot. She's really good about hiding that change up. That's for sure.
And for Cassie to say that, it's something, because you sit change ups better than most people I know. Like I've seen you pick and crush a lot of change ups. You were hard to get off time with an off speed, that's for sure.
I also liked it really low. So any kind of like change up that was like dying, I'm like, nope, I'm gonna save that right off the ground.
Really off the ground. Crazy.
Literally off the ground.
And they keep talking about how hot it is. It was like 95 with super high humidity, and she kept going to the dirt to she's sweating, Canyon sweating. Do you guys remember it being super hot and humid?
Yes.
So hot.
I think they were sending me and Mel in the locker room between innings, weren't they?
Yeah.
And there were so many people in those stands, and they were so close together. It was the old stadium. There just was just only so much room. I remember being like, oh my gosh, these people are on metal seats with like so many people. They're probably melting up there. It was so hot.
Yeah, they weren't happy when the roof got taken off before new plans were coming. They were not happy about that.
Yeah.
Usually the heat is like a thing that we can one up the opposing teams that come in. Like probably Arizona was struggling with it that weekend, but Baylor, it was all the same.
And in the first game you played, was it Penn?
Yes.
Went against Penn, but you didn't play Arizona at all. They're on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, Baylor knocked out Arizona.
Yeah.
So far today, struck out.
I have to give a shout out to the grounds crew at A&M because my gosh, not only was it a hard place to play, but the grounds crew at Texas A&M is some of the best people, but man, they're really good at their craft. And Craig Potts, and he was the head of things there, and we love Craig. It was one of the hardest reasons for me to also leave Texas A&M because I didn't get to see Craig.
Oh,
he loved him.
Did you hear what he did for SFA?
No.
When SFA, I don't know if y'all saw it, it kind of circulated social media early on in their season. Somebody drove a truck and rutted their field like really, really bad. And I think Craig and a few of the field crew from A&M went up there and helped them get it back in shape in time for them to get their games in. Like that's literally like Superman just showing up, because Craig is amazing. You know who's really in charge at A&M softball is Craig Potts. If he says stay off the grass, like your butt better stay off the grass.
Yes.
The
real
outfield looks immaculate.
It's so good. Yeah.
Like as an outfielder, you didn't have those like squiggly, the snakes at all, I'm guessing.
No.
The only time we did is when he like mowed it really special, but he would always make sure to do that at the beginning of the week so we could have like 3 days of practice on the grass with it mowed that way. So we could kind of get used to it. But yeah, it was like to this day, I don't even in just as a coach, I've been to like, I don't even know how many fields. I coached B1 for 3 years and I've not been to a field that has grass like A&M.
Yeah. And it's actually green. I mean, they didn't paint it. So I know watching the Arizona UCLA game, you had to paint the grass back in the day. So your uniforms were covered in like this awful green, but it's legit.
We were privileged. That's for sure.
And I'll tell you, I was able, since I've come to North Carolina, they didn't have heaters in their dugouts here. And I said, wait a minute, Texas A&M has heaters in their dugouts. If they have them, we desperately need them. So I got that the first year. I'm like, I won't be able to take it.
Were any of you guys like kind of sad in a way when that new stadium went up? I don't know if you guys got to go walk over to the old stadium when it was just kind of like empty and it started to get like trashed a little bit. It low-key broke my heart. I was like, man, that new stadium's beautiful, but I love the old one.
Is it still there? Like what is?
Last time I was there.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
So the old field is still there.
It's going to turn into a parking lot. I mean, the new one's amazing. It's unbelievable, and Coach Evans worked her butt off to get that for those players. But there's just something about the same stadium that, like, all the greats before us played on, right? Like, that's where Amanda Scarborough played. That's where Megan Gibson, that's where they all played, you know? And so I was grateful I got to play on that field right there, even though I know the new one's a little shinier.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, so who did you all look up to when you were younger? Like who were your role models? We'll just kind of go around. I'll start with Mel. Who's your role model kind of growing up?
Well, when I was getting recruited, I'd definitely have to say Megan and Amanda for sure.
Megan?
I mean, my two were Stacey Newman for all the obvious reasons, and Megan Gibson, just because like she was local, she played for Impact Gold as well, and she's just a beast. Like so much respect for her. I remember the first time I met Gibson in person, my first thought was, I thought you were so much taller, because like she just seems like bigger than life when you watch her on TV, and then you see her in person. I'm like, hold on, you're not that tall, but you're still doing all of this stuff. Like, I was mind blown.
Callie?
I liked my role model was more of a baseball guy. I liked Craig Biggio from the Houston Astros. I just loved the way he played the game. He was kind of quiet with his presence, but always made a big noise with his actions and how he played. And that was that's why I was partial to number 7 at A&M.
Cassie, what about you?
Pretty productive.
I grew up in the San Antonio area, so I really wanted to play at Texas, which is kind of ironic. They never recruited me, which turns out that worked out in my favor because I got to play with these guys and play for Coach Evans and Fernie and Coach Jackson. But I went to a camp when I was probably like 10, maybe 11, and Kat Osterman was like my team coach. And so I ended up like, I looked up to her. We were pen pals, kind of, like throughout me growing up. And so, yeah, we connected on books. She turned me into a reader, which was really cool. And then I ended up playing with her my rookie year in the pro league, which was really cool. It was like a full circle story. And then I coached against her when she was coaching at Texas State and I was U of H. And yeah. So even though I wasn't a pitcher, I still looked up to her. She was like this crazy superstar athlete, and she still took the time to like write me letters. I thought that was really cool.
Very cool. Jenna, how about you?
So I was a Southern California kid. So I watched a lot of UCLA games. So I remember being in love with Natasha Watley because I personally wasn't like, I wouldn't have considered myself to be the most athletic kid around. But I remember watching her and being like, she made the game her own. Like, she figured out a way to use her speed as like the biggest weapon in almost all of softball. And I just thought if I could find what my strength was and use that as a weapon, that I could be really great too. And like, I remember sitting there watching her and then being like, okay, so now I just got to figure out something I'm good at, you know? And, but I think I really like held that true my whole career. And I was like, maybe I won't be the best hitter. Maybe I won't be the most amazing athlete, but I think I could be a pretty good teammate. And I think I could be some other things that are really great. And so, yeah, she definitely kind of set the tone for me.
Yeah, she was pretty amazing to watch.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She was
like effortless, like just would like, she was almost gliding.
Yeah, it was not fair.
You know?
It was
like she touched the ball and then you're like, how is she at first already? And it looked so effortless.
Yeah,
I was fortunate enough to play with her my rookie year too. Her and Caitlin Lowe, and they're like the most humble people I think I've ever come across. Like, as good as they are, and of everything that they've experienced, all they wanted to do was teach and be ambassadors for the sport, and that was just so like there's nobody like either of them.
And two of like the best slappers ever to play the game. Like watching the pro league when they're on the same team, they're like, this isn't fair. This is a 1-2. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
That whole
it was a lot of fun.
She could lay bunts down and all that, but a lot of people forget how powerful she was. And I had to play. Callie, did you play in that? Not Callie, Cassie. It was NFCA one year. They needed an exhibition team to play against the Pride when Watley was still there. And they decided to stick me at first. And you want to talk terrified. Holy cow. I haven't fielded a grounder at this point in like a decade. And they stuck me at first base. And she came up to bat and blistered a ball at me. I still have nightmares about it. Like, because you just forget how incredibly strong she is because she's just so fast.
All right, we're in the fifth now here, right? It's just about to get interesting.
Yeah, we just got out of another like bases loaded game.
I
The
think
momentum's going to change. We just did it twice in one game. Oh my God.
three innings are the bases are loaded, correct?
Yeah, I think so. At least 2.
Yeah, you watch this back, you realize it could have been way worse. Like, Mel got us out of some, started to make some plays. This could have gotten out of hand really quickly, but yeah, we kind of kept it in check.
Well, those 2 pop-ups with the bases loaded to get out of the inning, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
So money.
That's when you're a coach in the third base box, you're kicking and screaming. You're like, oh.
So, Megan, what happened here? You hurt your arm?
I have, I don't know what you call it exactly. My shoulder is really unstable on my left side, so it slides kind of in and out of the socket occasionally. And on that one, it got me. It still happens now. I've seen a doctor, and they're like, yeah, you're just going to have to live with that. So it just kind of knocks your wind out for a second, and then you're good.
What is Coach Evans saying to you? Do you remember?
Just trying to distract me. Honestly, she's like, you're fine. You've been through worse than this. Let's go. Honestly, I don't remember what she said. She was just really, like, again, just really good at kind of distracting me and getting my head back in. Yeah, that's not a pretty swing at all. Ooh. Yeah, I know you guys all feel like you faced Canyon a ton, but I don't know if y'all realize this, but in those 4 years, this is the first year I actually got to hit off of her, because every year either I was injured or she was injured every time that we played Baylor. So these at-bats were the first time I had faced her since travel ball. And I'm like, oh, I don't think she's gotten easier to hit since then. And I didn't have a lot of success back then either. So that hit was like the first one in like 6 years against Whitney Canyon for me. I was kind of excited, but I had to play it down because serious moment.
Who's up now? Does anybody know?
At the top.
It's Sydney Shannon, right? Didn't they pinch it? No, it's Clopton. Because I know they pinch hit Sid at some point, and I can't remember when it was.
Brittany Clopton, the number 9 hitter.
And she was left fielder. Left fielder?
Left, yeah.
The only person that might have been as fast as Emily Albus. Do we know who was actually faster on times? Was it Em or is it Brittany?
Gosh.
That would be a question for Ray, probably.
Yeah.
Ray would know that.
Usually out of the box, Brittany was faster, but when Emily got those legs going, she would just glide and make up the difference.
It was like 12 steps and she was home to home.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Who's Ray? Ray's your strength and conditioning coach?
Oh yeah, Ray Benedict.
Yeah.
He's the best. It's like, it's crazy to think about what makes a program work. Like so many pieces of the puzzle have to all be working together. And like our staff, they all communicated and got along and trusted each other so well. So from like Stephanie, who dealt with all of our injury and rehab, to Ray, to Coach Evans, to the full coaching staff, like they all communicated so well. We're always on the same page and like had that vision. And I think a lot of that's Coach Evans kind of creating that vision for everybody, and nobody had an ego from the top down. Like them, Mel, who was, you know, amazing. We had an All-American pitcher and a coach that was in the Hall of Fame, and nobody had an ego, you know? And I think that's hard to find. I think it's getting harder and harder to find.
Today walked her first time, and as you see, had the single the second time. Watches that off-speed pitch trickle out of the strike zone.
Jenna, I know you joke about being lead off in this game, but you were such a tough out. Like every time.
Winning 12-0 yesterday. 5 runs in each of the first 2 innings. 14.
Well, all I could do was foul off pitches against Mel. It's not like I really had a choice, so I just off pitches. Yeah.
Yesterday, they see Gordon, who's throwing the ball for Penn in the low to mid 60s. Then they have a.
He does a good job. Nobody looks like they're sweating. It was hot.
I was sweating. I'll just go ahead and tell you.
Nobody looks like they're hot.
The walk surrendered by Canyon.
So she did walk a few people in this game.
Yeah.
Base. Didn't get very many hits, but up to this point.
I think that's one thing that Evans was really good at, like just knowing that you're always in the game constantly and knowing the situation. Like, hey, we just need people. We need people on base. Like we need base runners. If you get hits, don't chase anything. You're looking for one thing in particular, and we always seem to just have a chance. The last out was made, so everybody really committed to that and invested in it.
We got to give a shout out to AG. Oh my gosh, love her so much. Talk about a great teammate.
This is Allison.
Allison, yeah, she was awesome.
She's one of the funniest people, the driest sense of humor, and just witty. She is so witty, yeah. Even now with her tweets, she's very witty. Cracks me up.
You text her, have her jump on.
Would. She'd be a guest appearance.
I wish I had her number. Man, I miss her. Here's Sid. Here's our other senior.
So who are the seniors this year?
Me, Mel, and Sydney Shannon. We were the only 3.
Tyler at second, Garrett at first.
Man, this girl had ice water in her veins. Like, talk about somebody that you just cannot stress out. Her and Nicole, they're almost tied there. Like,
A&M today 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position.
Oklahoma, correct? I think. Right.
That's how you get shut out.
She's throwing a good amount of pitches at this point, though.
Yeah.
Canyon. Especially with all those walks. I think she's at, I don't know what she's at, but she was at 53 last inning.
The big blast,
She's getting up
which
there.
was Isaac's grand slam back in the fourth. Now Canyon falling behind. Always with a good.
And they're calling their own pitches as well, correct?
Yeah, I think so,
That one in the
which is awesome to see.
for the second out.
It kind of makes me wonder, like, where's the sport going? Because I don't know any catchers now that call their own pitches. So, like, what happens in 10 to 15 years where they're the coaches who are calling pitches? Like, that's a tough skill to learn when you're not doing it in real time, you know?
They need to be a little
MJ, what do you think about that?
Well, you hope they're really paying attention, and that they're students of the game, and in between innings, they're what we do. And I think our coach does a good job of this. Like, all the pitchers and all the catchers that aren't in the game currently are always right next to her when she's calling pitches. She's like, okay, what would you throw at this time? This is why we throw this. Is she ahead? Is she behind? Do you need to speed her up? Do you need to slow her down? So they're constantly talking it. So it's kind of being force-fed, just in case they decide to coach, I guess, later in life. But just we're trying to always have them be students of the game.
Well, I have to say, though, calling from behind the plate and calling from the dugout are two different skill sets, because I can do it behind the plate, but if I'm calling for a pitcher I've never caught and I'm in the dugout, it's very, very difficult. Like, I almost won't call for somebody that I've never caught for, because Mel can attest, like, even though we're calling a curveball, Mel doesn't have the most textbook curveball movement. And if you don't know that, then, you can get yourself into trouble. So it's definitely a skill that a lot of respect for the coaches that do it now from the dugout, because that's a tough thing.
It is. I enjoy watching travel ball, and when we're there, just watching them play and see how they do. And if they make a mistake, they make a mistake and they learn from it. That's the only way they figure out the game of what to do. So it's rare to see that and see the young ones really try to learn the game that way.
I think it's important too for at any level, whether it's in practice or actually in a game, for student athletes to be able to call a game and understand the amount of work that goes into it, to be able to then trust the coaching staff on the other side. That goes for like catchers and pitchers, because if you can actually trust what's being called, then that's going to make that pitch 100% better. I mean, you look at Mel and Megan, and if Mel's throwing a pitch that Megan's calling and Mel trusts it, it's no doubt it's going to be a good pitch.
So it's the top of the sixth now, down 5-0. We've had 3 innings where Baylor's had the bases loaded. At this point, everyone's still pretty calm. Like, were you thinking, hey, we're still in this, like, we can definitely come back? Or what were your thoughts collectively or individually, and then you think as a team?
My thought was, I'm not playing tonight because I'm exhausted. So I don't care who does it, but let's do this, because I don't have it in me right now to play a second game today.
Anyone else? Do you think you're going to win this game?
I think this has been kind of our team throughout the year. From what I remember, that we were in binds like this before and had to, kind of get back, just get a couple of people on and win with the long ball. So I think it's something that our team, they've been there before type thing. So they're like, well, we can do it again as long as we have one more out.
Yeah, collectively in this group, 72 home runs that year. Just the people on this call.
Whoa.
That's insane.
I had none of them.
Neither did
You
I.
had to roll in all of them, though. You had to roll in all of them.
How many do we have that year?
Again,
It was over 100, right?
103.
103, yeah.
so this was the year that we led the NCAA in home runs, I think. Or home runs per game. I don't remember if it was home runs or home runs per game.
Yeah.
We passed Temple in this game, right? Like, I think we have 92 or something, and they had 94. And then with our 3 in the last 2 innings, we passed them to take the lead. I think they talk about it in this inning.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Nick had a bunch. He had like 20.
Yes.
For Allie and Gars. Like, it was like 10 in the starting lineup that year was like, oh, there's your petty 10 home runs that you, because it was crazy, like how many home runs this team had hit.
Because this was Callie's 21 season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Callie had 21. Jenna, you had 10. Cassie 12. Mel 12. And Megan 17.
Really? Oh, okay.
That's what the record books say. Maybe we could go back.
I remember my senior year being, it was a struggle. That was a rough year at the plate for me.
Their eye on the runner. And then Morgan catches the line drive off the bat of Hayes.
All right.
It was huge that inning.
Yeah, Nick.
Did you guys watch that play that Nick made?
No, she came off the bag. It's like, we're not going to get her out, so we're going to get that other runner out, and that's rare. Just the second play. She just fast twitch. She was a good athlete.
I wanted to hug her.
Yeah,
like so hard. I was just like, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, 2 hits going into
11 hits to 2. We're still in it. We're still in it.
All right, guys.
Got a rally in us. Let's go. The fans haven't left yet, so.
These are the games that you really, like, you train your whole life for, though. You know what I mean? Like, you look back, you know what's about to happen. It's just like, it's so crazy. It was one of the most fun games. Like, this game was the most fun game I think I've ever played in. It was so crazy.
Set everything else up for
Yeah, she had 6 strikeouts and 5 walks.
Swept all 3 games against Baylor. Canyon wasn't pitching. She was out with.
Yeah, that's really not like her. I think that sweat on her hand really was getting to her.
First pitch.
Yeah.
And gets the leadoff single.
That's what I love
I'd
about
agree.
Freshman, exactly the type of leadership.
Always coming up swinging early, which is sometimes hard to convince people to do that, but you just come in and just whack it. Good.
Ernie, doesn't that remind you of Ree? That entire swing at bat right there.
Yes.
Nobody was better at first pitch hits than Ree Gleasing, man.
Ree Money,
She's in the
right?
dugout right now. Ree Money. That's
Always
right.
thought
You see, she's got big time
it
power.
was
15 home runs.
great. Like, you couldn't waver her either. She was pretty ice in the veins.
And only Temple.
And she was brutal. Because she hit after me, right, for a long time. And then she told me, she goes, if you hit a home run, I swing at the first pitch every time. And most of the time she'd get like a double or a home run or something. I'm like, geez, she just can't pitch. This poor girl.
So it's the 6, bottom of 6. You talk about adjustments. What were you gonna do against Canyon? Did you come in as a team and say, hey, we're gonna sit this rise ball, or we're gonna sit change? Do you remember any big meeting, or it was the 3rd time you're gonna see her, so it got easier to pick up what she was throwing?
From what I remember, I think the game plan was a lot like what Callie just did, and swing at the very first good pitch that we're going to see, because that was kind of our MO, and I think we kind of got away from it. And you know, we knew that the first strike that we were going to get was going to be the best one. So getting that first pitch strike early, you know, if it was in a part of the zone that we were comfortable with.
Yeah, Canyon's so deadly when you get to the end of an at-bat and you're down. It's tough to overcome her rise ball and change up. You don't know what's going to come at you.
Yeah.
And Fernie, I think you had pointed out to us going into this or right around here that she hadn't thrown a single changeup early in a count. Like I don't think she had thrown a changeup with less than 2 strikes up to this point. And so you were like, don't stress about speed, just sit early, sit fast.
Hit her hard stuff early, I think, is what we were trying to do. But once again, easier said than done with Canyon.
To get out, Lanphier. You got to love right now, Pam, the way Baylor is playing. They're playing with no fear. They're getting the big hit when they need it. They've got great pitching in the circle from Whitney Canyon. And defensively, they've done a great job of shutting down any threats behind Canyon.
Now this is you, Mel, right?
This year,
Yeah.
First pitch. Good job, Mel.
Yeah, I think I was pretty pissed off in the
I was
segment.
going to ask, you look pretty pissed off. So as a pitcher who hits, what were you thinking? Like, okay.
Thinking like a pitcher, and here comes Rise ball.
Rush it.
Yeah. That's fun. I think Megan May, did you say, okay, Mel, if you hit a home run right now, you're going to get dessert?
I should have. I should have done it a lot sooner is what I should have done.
That's a shot.
This is like also, this is Mel's MO. Like, Mel, if something goes awry, whether she's on the mound or like we boot the ball on defense, like probably a home run from Mel is coming at some point. Like she might not know it, but we're all like, okay, is it going to be in the 4th inning or is it going to be in the 6th?
For real though,
she's known for that.
You did it against Bama. You did it against BYU. Didn't you hit 2 grand slams against BYU in the same game? That was the first time we had beat them in like 4 years.
Mel, what are you thinking? Like, finally we have a run?
Yeah.
Like, I just do this all
I mean, like Fernie said, that whole entire year, you know, like we always relied on the long ball, and we freaking hit. We hit. So I don't think anyone was real nervous or anything at the end because, I mean, we've been there, done that. So someone would come through. Callie was always clutch during season 2, so
clutch.
Not in practice. Y'all like all own me in practice.
we made you better.
There you go.
That's right.
You know, I think the cool part about this is a year prior we hosted a regional and we didn't make it out of our own regional. That's when LSU beat us on our home field. And so like this felt really familiar, but we chose something different. Like we chose to not like bring the year prior into this year and be like, oh, here we go again, like gonna lose in the winners bracket of our own regional. But that was not the culture this year. We weren't willing to let that happen.
That gave me the chills. Like, we chose something different. Like, like you're in charge of your own destiny kind of thing. And that can either fuel you or haunt you, you know? And
yeah.
This game, there we go. Here's your home runs.
Pretty good chance of it.
Well, and the leadership from like Megan and Mel were really crucial because they'd always been such a big part of the team. And just because they were seniors, they weren't like panicking. They were like, okay, this is nothing new. Like we've got it, you know? And so the rest of us who were younger, we just kind of fed off of that.
You guys were easy to lead though. Like, I know you may feel that way, but we really enjoyed having you guys. Y'all were such a mature group of kids. I say kids because now I'm old and have 2 babies. Y'all were just awesome as teammates. Like Jenna, like you were awesome, always had great energy. Cassie, just like always even keeled. You remind me so much of Coach Evans. Just you never got riled. And I mean, Callie.
That's
just
the biggest compliment I've ever received.
I mean, Callie just, like, you just kept it simple in the best way. Like, just always having a good time.
Y'all, I had, like, no business on this field this year with y'all. Y'all think,
What?
This year, this junior class, what did y'all have, 7 or 8 in y'all's class? And
yeah, there were 8 of us.
Yeah, and then Megan, Mel, and Sydney, like, here's, like, our whole freshman class was just, like, doomed with this senior class. It was so awesome to learn from my first year.
A little bit over 50% on that.
Well, we loved having you.
Roles, you know, they all had roles and they loved them and they embraced them and they were everybody else's biggest fan. And that's hard to do. And I know roles can be an overplayed word, but man, this team really embraced their roles. And I mean, Megan, you even said, like, I didn't have my best hitting year at all. Like I struggled, right? However, look at what you offered in the role that you were really, really good at for that year. You could have canned both of them in and be like, I'm just giving up. But you were a main cog in the team defensively too to help. So that's a lesson learned for a lot of people. You're going to struggle. There's going to be some struggling times during the season and during your career for sure. And that shows maturity. That definitely shows maturity.
I think coach just figured out I was the best 8-hole option. Like, I think that was where I should have been for my
that's part of
I like that whole 8-hole situation.
You were you were at 1 or 2 hole at some point too. I think you have been like almost every spot in the lineup.
I was more nervous than Jenna, I promise you. Like, I had never been above 3. I was like, what's happening? Oh man.
So they run for you twice, right, Megan?
Yeah, I'm out of the game at this point, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But which is totally fine because Nicole, like, she caught the whole time. I've had a lot of injuries, and I broke my finger one year. She caught all of that time I was gone. I broke my hamate earlier in this year, and she caught that whole time. So her and Mel knew each other well. Like, it was a seamless transition, honestly. And Nicole had a cannon. I loved when people tried to steal, maybe because they thought I was still in the game or something, and so they tried to take off. And no, like, just sit down.
Nick would do this thing. Go ahead, Callie.
Now I was gonna say when a runner got on first and Nick was catching, she just kind of slingshot it down, like not even look at my face and pick off the runner.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a left-handed hitter up, she would literally throw the ball behind the batter. If I was at first or Jenna was at first, like she would throw the ball behind the batter. And so whoever was leading off at first would never see it coming. And it's just an athlete.
Yeah, she's just, yeah, she can do whatever. You know, what was fun is watching Emily Albus and Cassie, the outfielders, throw people out when they tried to advance.
Yes.
Anytime the ball was hit and Emily Albus picked up the ball and somebody was trying to get the second, that was it.
I remember, Cassie, didn't you get somebody at third from the warning track? Like, I remember one in particular. I can't remember who we were playing. You were on the warning track and you gunned somebody out at third base, and it was amazing. It was like the best thing ever.
I can't say I remember it, but I loved throwing. I loved throwing people out like almost as much as I liked hitting, if not more.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
Like, you threw the ball so hard that I'm not gonna lie, it scared me to receive the ball at home because I'm like, if it takes a bad hop, I'm not gonna look athletic on this at all. Like,
obviously, I'm a little bit better in the outfield than I am at first base. I like panic here. So they're gonna play this at my funeral and laugh. Like, oh,
just like you wrote it up.
Exactly. At least we didn't laugh about it. We were laughing coming off. We're down 3 runs going to the bottom of the 7th, and we're laughing about it. So I'm just doing everyone else a favor. That's all.
The presence of mind to come back and make the tag on the runner, and then look at the way that Holly Hall, momentum, bringing her up the middle, fires the ball to Strickland to get the lead runner.
Yeah, so we're talking, what is this, bottom of 7th? Who leads off the bottom of 7th, do you remember?
Me, pretty sure. I don't get it. It was right. Devin goes, all right, this is it. You're going to get us going. This is you're the one. And then I grabbed it.
So down 3 runs, that's a pretty, it's a big hill to climb. It feels like it in the bottom of the 7th, but from watching, it doesn't seem like anybody is pressing or there's a collective belief that as an outsider looking in, you can kind of see that you still believe like, oh, hey, we still got 1 swing. We're good.
Mm-hmm. Just get base runners on.
That's smacked, but well foul.
Garza comes up clutch in this inning. She has that really, really awesome hit down the left field line.
Yeah, the outside pitch.
Yep.
Rally caps on. Was it the glove?
Depend on the day.
Like, who was the best in the dugout? Like, who was that? Like, the one that get you fired up in the dugout?
Sarah.
Katie.
Yeah.
Sarah was mine for sure.
Katie, yeah.
I love that girl.
Good.
Right in the eyes of Stark, and she gets Stark to swing to
That is
this
that one.
pitch. Stark pulls her head.
There's Emily doing what she does.
There it is.
Gosh,
Jeez.
so fast.
Just the barrel control. She was really good.
Garza.
She would hit, bunt, slap, everything.
But
Almas is going to drive it back up the middle. Jill Reed is pulled up in the line.
Really good finding the soft spots.
Keeping it on the infield, but that's a tough play.
They're talking a lot in the Arizona UCLA game with the white ball, how much easier it was back then, right, to do that kind of stuff. But Emily's showing even with the yellow ball, as long as you really have good bat control and know what you're doing, you can have the same effect.
Yeah, especially that infield's in a bit, so she's probably thinking,
Yeah.
let's try to get this in the middle a little bit.
Looking for her first hit today off of Canyon.
Coach Evans isn't telling her that, I mean, that's her, she knows herself, and she just did. It wasn't like, okay, that's a sign. She just knew what she was doing.
And Garza, she's a junior here? How old is Garza?
Mhm.
yeah.
Same class as Cassie.
And that is a single over the head of Smith.
She had such good hands.
Yeah. Amber always would go like 120%, and we'd always have to tell her, Amber, you're best at 80. 80 is when you're under control. So, but she would always go all out, but she's somebody we had to reel back in a lot because she would swing so hard all the time.
It was great when she hit one at 120
Well,
though,
yes.
because
Yes.
woo,
She'd swing out of her shoes all the time.
Yeah.
love it.
Look at that.
The freshman phenom.
That's right.
Is that first pitch again?
Yep.
Callie, didn't you just say you didn't belong on the field?
A Rysdale pitcher, that's for sure. Like I said, I'm still really confused how this happened because that's never a pitch I could ever swing at, ever.
Callie, your freshman year, you hit rise balls all the time. We couldn't throw them to you in practice. Like, ask Mel, we could never throw you rise balls in practice because you crush them. I don't know, maybe you changed like after we graduated, but I always remember you crushing.
It didn't make sense.
That was awesome.
Look how quick your hands are.
Just so smooth.
Take a look at that car.
Yeah, Nick.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
She hit this ball into the street.
She's what,
Like, I
struck
think
out
she might have
twice?
almost cleared the street.
Yeah.
Shot from Lamphere, and we're all tied up. And now here's Nicole Morgan.
Man, Whitney pitched such a good game.
I know.
I remember Nick coming to me before this at bat and being like, okay, either you or me. Like, one of us is going to do this. And it's me. I was like, okay, yeah, go ahead. You do it.
2-1. The change up. She got it.
I mean, and you have to look at Whitney, like none of the pitches that we hit were missed. All of those were really good pitches.
Yeah.
Dang.
Just really great job of hitting. Mel's was up in the zone. Callie's was up in the zone. That was a great changeup. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's an example that the game has no idea how good Whitney Canyon is pitching or what the situation is. It has no concept. It can change within one swing. It's almost not fair.
Yeah.
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You're such an explosive offense all season that it's almost like you kind of looking back and thinking, oh, well, for sure they're going to win on the long ball. But 3 home runs, right, for your 6 runs.
Yep.
Pretty impressive. And obviously as a pitcher, I'm sure Canyon's thinking, "You gotta be kidding me."
Yeah.
It's also nerve-wracking as a coach because, you know, sometimes you're like, okay, when's the long ball coming? Because that's what we do. And man, I was nervous at times.
Amazing. I mean, the game is so slow up to like the 6th inning, and then the 6th and 7th, it's like boom, boom, boom. So we did this in our last one, and if we could just go around now that we've kind of gone through the game, maybe share your best memory or share with current players, athletes, what you wish you kind of would have known back then that you know now. So maybe give advice. So we'll just go around and everyone will kind of just say what they're feeling, and then we'll close it out. We'll start with Mel. Does your dog want to start?
Yeah. Not right.
Cassie, do you want to start us?
I have one if y'all need a second.
Go ahead, Tally.
I would say to use every second of your high school senior season as you can. You know, these days girls commit so early. So I feel like by the time your senior year gets there in high school, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just ready to get to college. Like, let's get this part over with. But I would say, you know, this game was my freshman year, and I contribute so much of it to that summer that I played before I got to my freshman year at A&M, and just really using that to be the best that you can going into your freshman year.
Thanks, Callie. Really good stuff. Cassie, are you ready now?
Yeah. I think I wasn't one of those athletes like Callie where I came in and I was like super good my freshman year. It took a lot of work, and I had a lot of work to do in the box. And I think if I would have had the work ethic that I had as I got older, I think I would have. I think I could have been better faster. And at the same time, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why people didn't think the way that I thought. Like, as far as my teammates go, like, I think I operated under the assumption that, well, everybody thinks the way that I think. So I didn't have the emotional maturity that I wish I would have had when I was playing, and I got to see that as a coach. And I think if athletes can kind of take the time to develop a little bit of self-awareness as they're growing up, whether it's in high school or in travel ball, like, I think that is what truly makes the good from the great.
Great. Thanks so much, Cassie. Meg?
I'm going to kind of piggyback Cassie in terms of the emotional maturity, because me in college, I didn't know it at the time, but like, I really wasn't a great teammate all the time. I didn't have my focus where it should have been, which was supporting those around me at all times and making that my priority. And I didn't really learn that until my second year in the pro league, where I got to see what it is to be on a team where literally everyone cares more about the person standing next to them. And this team did that, but I didn't necessarily take that to heart. And that would be something I would want to tell everybody coming into college is, if you put all of your heart and your focus into your teammates, you'll end up succeeding because they're going to succeed. And you'll end up having a much better experience across the board, because obviously when people around you are happy, you're going to be happy. So that would definitely be my one little piece of advice, is if you can not be selfish and focus on your teammates, you'll have a much better experience.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that's key, and for you to be able to say that and admit that, I think that's really cool. That hopefully others can learn from that as well. Mel, what do you got?
Let Jenna go.
Jenna.
Okay. This might be a little different, but I mean, while playing, you know that you love the game. Like, I really loved the game. Like, I loved the game. I loved my teammates. I loved A&M. And I think I was pretty present to that while I played. But what's kind of hard to describe at that age is, like, why you love it so much. Like, it's just this ball with a bat, and you try and hit it as hard as you can. And, like, why does that matter so much, you know? But I can, like, honestly say that every single thing I've accomplished since then, I can look back and be like, oh, I learned how to work harder than everybody else I've ever come up against in regular life because of softball. Like, I know how to lead, I know how to handle adversity. And it's like, if nothing else, like, you will be able to go on and accomplish so much because of what you're learning as an athlete. And like, kind of like you said when we first got here, like, oh, look, you have athletes and everyone's on time and everyone, that's how I feel in my job right now. I'm a firefighter and I know I can outwork anybody. Nobody can outwork me. And I think it's because of this and what I did and all these people who care about greatness all in one place, and you learn what it means to strive for greatness. And so just let it carry you in your life to do great things and go on and help people and accomplish a lot would be my advice.
Great. Thanks, Jenna. And thank you for being a firefighter and keeping us all safe, especially right now.
Yeah.
Where are you a firefighter?
I work for Orange County Fire Authority here in Orange County, and I'm stationed in a city called Buena Park right now.
Just down the road. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service too.
Oh yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
And last but not least, Mel.
I'm going to piggyback off Jenna, competing, getting to compete at a high level, D1 softball, that's awesome. It's fun. When you get to college, just compete, and you're going to go through tough times and stuff like that, but work through it.
MJ, do you have anything to add?
Wow, I'm just so proud of these young ladies that are on this call because it makes me remember why I coach and the big reason for it. It's you ask them about specifics about a situation in a game, they don't really remember what happened. They remember what it was like going through it and that they were in the trenches with their teammates and what the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's what it's all about. So I hope people that are pursuing to be in a sport in college look at that and don't get so caught up in me, what do I get out of this? What do I do? It's about the bigger picture. And if you have a big enough why of why you play, you'll find the how, right? So you have to have a big enough why of why you're in it and what you're doing and have a love for it.
Oh, love that, MJ. Thank you. Ladies, been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being a part of our second ever roundtable with the NCAA and D1 softball. I had a great time. I know a lot more about the Aggies than I did when we started, and just want to thank you for being a part of our game, for being incredible role models, and not just in softball, but in life as well. I think it's super important that we all stay in and honor the game, and just want to thank you for being here. Anybody have anything else to say?
Thanks and gig 'em.
Okay, guys.
Come on. All right, great. Thanks so much, and check out the full game on the NCAA and D1 softball.